How about that cigar? Guys, good evening. It is Tuesday night, our favorite night of the week, and I want to welcome you to episode number 33 of How About That Cigar Live. We are here on Facebook. Please take a few minutes, if you would, share us out to your favorite Facebook cigar groups and get online right away, and you can start asking questions, leaving comments in there. Thanks also to you who are listening to us on the audio podcast platform. We appreciate you giving us your time while you listen to us on episode number 33. As always, How About That Cigar Live is brought to you from the Drew Estate Cigar Studios. And let's tell you about the Pappy Van Winkle Family Reserve Barrel Fermented. It is a long filler premium cigar rolled in limited quantities at La Gran Fabrica Drew Estate in Esteli, Nicaragua. Deep barrel fermentation is the key process that makes this expression vastly different from anything on the market. Hand-selected leaves from Kentucky are packed into small torquettes or bundles of tobacco, which are then loaded strategically into oak bourbon barrels. Water is then added while immense pressure is applied to the torquettes via railroad jacks. The tobacco is removed 2 to 3 times per year, shaken out, then repacked. The total process of fermentation takes 12 to 18 months, leaving a truly unique flavor profile and aroma. The Pappy Van Winkle's Family Reserve Barrel Fermented is now available at brick and mortar Drew Diplomat retailers. So, guys, thanks again for joining us on episode number 3. You may notice this evening that there is no one to my right. Garrett has family obligation this evening. He remembered frighteningly toward the last minute that tonight is his wife's birthday, and that is an event for those of us who have wives that you do not want to miss. So make sure, those of you who have a lovely wife, that you treat her right and celebrate her birthday. So some of the things we talk about a little bit at the beginning of every show, it's a little sad to talk about this week because if you're a fan of any team in the NFC North, myself being a Green Bay Packers fan, Garrett being a Minnesota Vikings fan, and I have lots of friends who are Detroit Lions fans and Chicago Bears fans, every single team in the NFC North lost this week. It was not a good week for the NFC North. So if you're a fan of one of those teams, it's time to lick our wounds, move on to next week. We're sort of following the Minnesota Wild. It's our favorite hockey team around here. They were really horrible, struggling like crazy at the beginning of the season. But fortunately, they're turning things around a little bit. They're still, I think, going to have a so-so season. But I've really been impressed a little bit over the past few games by the way they've been playing. I think they're improving. So we just have to wait and see how that goes. We want this evening to welcome a brand new sponsor. And as we move into our first segment with our special guest this evening, they're going to sponsor this segment. And I want to thank so much to our new sponsor, Corona Cigar Company. So Corona Cigar Company and coronacigar.com is the internet's largest and easiest to use virtual cigar store. Corona Cigar Company offers you the finest handmade cigars, humidors, and cigar accessories at the absolute lowest possible price. At Corona Cigar Company, they take pride in being cigar fanatics just like you and me. That is why you will find the best selection of the rarest and finest premium cigars available anywhere in the world. Choose from fabulous brands like Padron, Davidoff, Fuente, and hundreds more. Named by Forbes magazine in the best of the web list, voted as a top 5 internet cigar retailer by Smoke magazine, and called the largest best stocked cigar shops in America by Cigar Aficionado. If you live in Florida or are just visiting, be sure to visit any of the great Corona cigar locations in downtown Orlando, Sand Lake, Lake Mary, and also the Davidoff of Geneva Lounge in Tampa. For more info on all of that, please visit coronacigar.com and floridasungrown.com. So, guys, episode number 33 of How About That Cigar. As you know, we've had some fabulous guests. We've been really excited to have some guests recently, and this evening is no exception. This is a brand and a person that I got to know over the past few years, and it's something that we're really excited to bring to you this evening. And if you would please, along with us here at How About That Cigar, please welcome Mr. Reinier Lorenzo from HVC Cigars. Reinier, good evening.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on the show, Matt.
We are really excited to have you with us. And so it turns out that in this great business of premium cigars, one of the best things we love to do is sit down with people like yourself and learn about stories, learn about where people came from, learn about what it is that got them into the premium cigar business. And one of the things that I love so much about your story is that, because if you look at the world of premium cigars, obviously it's almost impossible to trace them back without going through Cuba. And you actually spent the majority of your life growing up in Cuba. So if you would talk us through what that experience was like for you. You moved to the States when you maybe, what was it, about 10 years ago?
11 years ago.
11 years ago. So talk us through what your life was like early on growing up in Cuba.
I mean, it was great. I mean, it can't go wrong. Like, really happy family.
Yeah.
I grew up in Havana. It's a city that, they carry the name of my company, HVC. So everything I do inspired me where really I grew up.
Yeah.
Down there. But I mean, I just like really happy grew up down there in Cuba.
And so what was it that brought you to the United States?
I mean, my family was here already. And I don't know if you like between Cuba and United States, it's called family unification. So if your family are American citizens, they can, would say like, yes, they can give you a call to you and you can come to the States.
Okay. And
for
so that
me,
was
actually it really was, and for me it was amazing experience, like really happy to be here, living in this country. Great America. I mean, actually when I was there, I was in medical school, in my first year of medical school in Cuba.
Yeah.
And and sometimes just to get out in Cuba, if you are a doctor or an engineer or a lawyer, they give you a little trouble with that. I remember like I spent almost 4 or 5 months just to go to the principal school to sign me a letter to get out of the country.
Okay.
And always was something, always was something this happened. Hey, please come on.
So you said while toward the end, the last few years while you were there, you were in medical school. Did you have dreams of being a doctor one day?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I heard, I think I heard on another interview that you were on that you actually worked as a veterinarian for a while. Is that right?
I was working in a genetics company there when I was living in Wisconsin. I was living there for 7 years and I was working for a genetics company there because I have a background in veterinarian back when I was in Cuba before I went to medical school.
Okay. And so we have to talk about this just because we are both fans. You lived in Wisconsin for about 7 years, and you are also, along with myself, a great, huge Green Bay Packers fan. Is that right?
Yes, I am.
Yes. That is I love that coffee mug. That might be the most beautiful coffee mug I've ever seen. So was it just when you arrived?
For me, it was quite a unique experience, and the way, like, I mean, if you are Cuban, if you came to the United States, you're supposed to stay in Miami, not to go to Wisconsin.
What was that like?
It was like, in the beginning, it was quite a shock to me. I remember it was December 2008, and it was really, really cold. First time I saw snow in my life, and I was like, what the hell is this? I remember back in Havana, like talking to my friend, oh my God, Havana is always really hot.
Yeah.
Like here in Miami. And like my body were like, you talking, they were like, I want to live in Canada, or I want to live there in Norway when it's cold. I mean, I was living there for 7 years, and it's enough for me. It was really cold.
So you went from one of the hottest places on earth to one of the coldest places on earth overnight.
And actually, for me, that transition, it was, for my personal experiences, it was great.
Yeah.
To live in there for 7 years, it was amazing. Really good friends out there. I met amazing people out there. They are still my friends today. It was great. And actually, in Cuba, you are really big in baseball. baseball and soccer.
Yeah.
That was really so, and I start learning football out there. That's really how I became a Packers fan.
Okay. And were you interested in cigars? Were you a cigar consumer or somebody who loved premium cigars while you were in Cuba, or did that come after you left Cuba?
No, that's why actually after I left Cuba.
Okay.
I remember I used to go back to my family farms. That's in the middle of Cuba. It's called Camagüey. It's like this. It's like you say it's Texas here. It's a big cattle, right? So, and I remember my aunts and my cousins smoking cigars there, but just the cheapest cigars, the one that you buy for $1, you buy 25. Just they call them the bodegas there in Cuba. Not really the premium cigars. And sometimes I remember just because every summer I used to go there for my vacation. So that was usually my favorite spot to go for vacation. So working there in the farm. And I remember a couple of times just grab a cigar and just give it a puff. But usually the first time really I enjoy a premium cigar, it was in Havana in a party. And it was the Cohiba Siglo 6. I was in a party and a guy it was giving a cigar out, and I remember was smoking. I think I must remember 18 or 19 by that time. And I looked at the cigar and I said, wow, I don't know what is this, but this is really good. You know, the flavor, not really heavy, nice. Wow, I was really enjoying that. Actually, that was, I can say, that's my favorite Cuban cigar. The Cohiba Siglo 6.
That's a really good way to start. I mean, if you're going to have, go back in time and say, what was the first premium cigar you ever had? To say a Cohiba Siglo 6, that's a pretty good way to start.
I mean, life is crazy, because, when I came here, that's when really started know about tobacco. Like, I remember when Eduardo Fernandez, the owner of Aganorsa, invited me to go to Nicaragua in 2009, and he gave me a, super nice tour all around. All his farm. I remember we went to Jalapa even, and I really fell in love with the other process. And by that time, I was not even start HVC yet because we started HVC in 2011. That got in my mind, and I was like, just let's do it.
Yeah. So you said it started in 2011. What was, out of all because you have quite a few different cigars right now, what was the first cigar that you released that carried the HVC name?
The first selection.
Okay.
That was my first cigar, the city. The first selection, that was my first cigar. I remember that was in Orlando. The last IPCPR in Orlando, I think that was in 2013. Because by that time I was still working in the genetics company there in Wisconsin, and my free time I used to go around the Chicago area, Michigan area, Indiana, just visiting shops, introducing the HVC first selection.
And do you remember how many of that first production did you have made?
I can tell you that was actually, it's a funny story right there. By that time, I don't have any booth. So, and Eduardo said, yeah, you can put your cigars here in the Ganol Salif booth, the Casa Fernandez by that time. And I made 200 boxes. And I sold at the show probably about 110 boxes. And I was really pissed off. and I was like, you know what? Like, I want to solve my boss. And I remember my family talk to me and say, just you gotta relax. Nobody knows you in the business.
Yeah.
Nobody knows HVC, nobody where you coming from, and you come here and you sell the size of boxes, and just that's the way it is.
So how did you feel when, you launched the brand? Were you nervous about starting that brand? And if so, when did you sort of calm down, and when did you ease into it and say, okay, this feels right. This feels like this is the line of work that I was meant for.
I mean, like always, like go back to Cuba when you grew up, I think you grew up really entrepreneur. Like, you want to do things. That's my inside natural human being. So that you want to do something that you really like. And I remember years ago when I started doing this, the HVC full time, and say, you know what, this is what I want to do. Because it was for almost like, I've been in the business for almost 9 years, but I really started doing it full time, just being almost 2015, really doing, get out there and visit shops and get out and start doing it really full time. So at some point in your life, you say, because I started the business with 26 years old, I'm 34 today. And you say, well, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to push. I really enjoy it. I really love doing what I do.
And how did you, along the way, how did you develop the relationships with people at Casa Fernandez and Aganorsa Leaf? How did that progress?
No, my family has been working for them for almost 20 years. That's really how I get in the tobacco business.
Okay.
Even I don't was in the tobacco business in Cuba, because most people think if you are Cuban, you are in the tobacco business, Cuba. Well, that's not my case.
Yeah.
I was not really in the tobacco business in Cuba.
I think a lot of people assume that somebody comes from Cuba and they're in the, I mean, for you, it's a special kind of a case because you were born and raised in Cuba and you've been in the States, for all this time now. And people probably just assume that your family in the cigar business goes back, 10 generations, probably.
Usually, when you go around and chat, people start asking questions. And I always make sure I talk about what really HVC, how we came from.
And HVC, for those who are watching and don't really know, HVC actually stands for Havana City, and it's a tribute to the city of Havana. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. That's correct. You see almost every line that I have is you got to go back to where I'm from. I mean, you got the HVC Cerro. Cerro is one of the oldest neighborhood in Cuba. Just a really nice medium body cigar. I would like to say a Cuban style because for me personally, I never been a guy I think when you smoke my cigars, a full body guy. I think I always be that's my palate. My palate is medium full. That's what I'm built for.
Yeah. And what would you say? So out of the lines of cigars you have, take us through, from the first selection to these that you sent to us, which we're really grateful for. Smoking the 500th anniversary right now, and this is this is basically for the birthday of the city of Havana. Is that correct?
Yes, 500th anniversary of Havana. 2 years ago, I noticed that would come the 500, and I said, well, I want to do something special just with the 20,000 cigars, just limited edition cigar. But at the same time, when I was in my mind, I say this, like, I never want to put out cigar out there that I don't enjoy. I mean, like, again, let's go by being in the business 9 years. If you look, my portfolio is not really big. My portfolio is still so small, even in the size too. I don't have like 30, 40 lines out there. It's like every time I want to make sure I put a production, a cigar dollar, something that's quite unique to me and something personal to me too.
And so you've got the, I want to say, is it 6 lines that you have right now?
Right now we have 9, and we do a few limited editions a year. Because think about like the La Rosa 520, that's a limited edition cigar. Every year we do small productions, different size, but just a limited edition cigars. And we got the Black Friday that we do just limited edition, small production, just one time a year as well.
Yeah. And the one tell us about the broadleaf cigar, because that I think you'd agree. That's the one in your portfolio. That's the cigar that is the most full bodied. It's not as strong as a lot of other stuff that's out there on the market, but that cigar has real depth and real, it's got weight to it. It's got punch to it. And what led you to go ahead and sort of go a little bit higher on the body level with that cigar?
No, because I mean, the broadleaf that we use as a viso, as a wrapper classification viso that we use. So, and I remember the first time we did just 500 boxes exclusive for the IPCPR last year. And I say, well, I want to make a broadleaf, but I don't want to make a broadleaf that most people would think is really a full body cigar. I want to come out with a broadleaf that I think most in the medium cigar smoker can try and can really enjoy that cigar.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you have a guy that really smoke a medium body cigar, when you give something really full, he don't enjoy it at all.
Right.
So, and I think when I create that broadleaf, I create thinking, like I say, on my cigar, just always I talking about, I think I'm wrong, but I don't blame for people. I blame for myself. And when I say this, I blame for myself, I am really a cigar smoker. I like to wake up, I like to have a cigar, I like to enjoy. And so with that particular cigar, the broadleaf, that's when I come to my mind and say, I want to create a broadleaf that most people can enjoy. Because sometimes that happened to me a lot of times. You go to a cigar shop, and when they see a really dark wrapper, a lot of cigar smokers, they are afraid to it. They say, no, that's too heavy for me. I said, well, just give it a try, and you will see it. And I have a lot of those guys that really believe me, and when they try, they say, well, you were right. I really enjoyed the cigar.
That's one of the things we've talked about here on the show before with some different people. Is that's such a common misunderstanding with people in even people who are experienced cigar smokers. They a lot of times have this incorrect notion that a dark wrapper leaf is automatically going to mean it's a very strong cigar, and that's really not true.
I mean, maybe I'm not the right guy to talk about that, because probably, like, if you would say 20 years ago, maybe you can see in the market, like a lot of dark cigars that were really heavy, and people were like not really enjoying them. That's maybe why. Because I don't know, sometimes you see a consumers just thinking on that way. Even the 2015, the special edition 2015, that's, I would like to say, on a scale from 1 to 10, it can be in 7 or 8 for some people, but not really a heavy smoke. And sometimes I give you a guy and say, hey, try this Maduro. So, well, I don't smoke Maduro. I say, no, please try it, and you will see it. And the guy came back to me and say, wow, I really like it.
Yeah, that's another thing to remember is there are so many cigars on the market, and there's so many different leaves to choose from when you're blending a cigar, but there are so many different types of cigar smokers out there, and everybody has a different level. So like you said, one guy, there are some cigar smokers out there who could smoke this cigar and be blown away by it, because maybe they've only smoked a few cigars in their life, and they haven't really built up they haven't really gotten a palate put together yet. But then there's going to be guys like me who I smoke this cigar, and it's got incredible amounts of flavor, but it's deep and it's rich, but it's not strong, and that's one of the things that you have to remember. Every cigar smoker is going to have a little bit different palate.
I mean, I really like the sweetness.
Yeah, it really is. And I'm drinking this pale ale beer, which has a little bit of a funkiness, a little bit of a bite to it, and the cigar is a nice balance, because the cigar has sweetness that really contrasts the bite and the funkiness of the beer really nicely.
I mean, always I say to the consumers like this, like, you gotta try it. You gotta be open to your palate. That's the way we do when we go out there to Nicaragua. And when I say, well, we want to create things like let's smoke, right? To see how the tobacco came along.
Yeah.
Because like they say, the tobacco speaks to you. How the tobacco speaks to you. You smoke it, you will see the tobacco ready. Hey, this have a lot of sweetness. Did you not dry my mouth a little bit? I got a little bit of cocoa here or a little bit of coffee. Sometimes people got that. So you got to try it. If you don't try it, that's the only way you got to figure out what you really like.
Yeah. And taking chances is what consumers, that's what we have to do sometimes, is when we're in a humidor and we're presented with dozens, hundreds of different selections in front of us. We have to be willing to take a chance sometimes and reach for a cigar that we maybe have never heard of, reach for a cigar that maybe looks darker than we'd normally smoke, even reach for a cigar that looks lighter than we'd normally smoke, because in a lot of cases we're going to be surprised and we'll end up finding a new cigar to put in our regular rotation that we love that we otherwise never would have taken a chance on. So you have to take a leap of faith and try something new sometimes.
I mean, and I say always, Dick, when you see a cigar, you got to look like construction, flavor, balance, and clean finish. For me, that's 4 steps in a cigar. That you look these 4 steps, that can give you an idea. And the other thing, you got to just figure out your palate.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody's got to figure out where their sweet spot is. And once they figure that out, even once you narrow that in, even in that narrow range, there's going to be so much good stuff out there to try. And that's one of the nice things about your lines is, whether it's this new cigar or whether it's the La Rosa 520, whether it's the Pan Caliente. Tell me about that cigar, because that was actually the first HVC cigar I ever smoked, was the Pan Caliente.
The Pan Caliente, that's a cigar. It used to be made at Raíces Cubanas factory. We all Ganosa tobacco. So last year we changed the production to Taxa factory down there in Italy. So actually that's one of my favorite in my night. They say I want to come out with a cigar, and I remember when I say Pan Caliente, right there in the factory, people say, "What do you mean Pan Caliente?" I say, I want to put it in Pan Caliente because the tobacco that we use is really high end, and the price in the cigar is unbelievable. It's nice medium body cigar. You can smoke almost any time of the day, I would like, because sometimes people don't realize Aganorsa, we only work with tobacco from Estelí and Jalapa. We don't use, me personally, in my blends, I don't use any more tobacco, just Estelí and Jalapa. Me personal, I go more in the Jalapa region. I'm really big fan of the Jalapa region. It's not really heavy, not really spicy. Even sometimes you can go in that flavor profile, but Jalapa usually you got creamy, you got sweetness. So in the Pan Caliente line, I say nice medium body cigar. Any time of the day you can really enjoy. And the size they allow, I would like to see that about, probably in a Lancero. Because right now we have only 3 sizes. And you know what? Every time right now I come to the cigar shop and the people know HVC, they say, hey, when you will come out with a Lancero? So you got Coronas, you got Robusto, you got Choros. I said, well, I would like to try to see in the Pan Caliente Lancero how that blend will come out.
So you do get that question a lot?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I know there, because we call ourselves cigar nerds, and Garrett, who's not with us tonight, he loves Lanceros. He's one of those cigar nerds who he's probably that guy who would ask you that question. He would say, when are you going to come out with the Lanceros? Is that something that have you tried any test blends with Lanceros and just decided it wasn't the right fit for you, or have you not even tried to put together a Lancero?
I try a few things, but I got it. I have to figure out which one I want to come out with.
Yeah. I suppose
Maybe next year will be quite.
all the blends you've
Maybe
got
next
to
year will
choose.
be. Maybe next year will be quite a few surprises out there with Lancero collection from HVC out there.
I like that. No, I know we will not be disappointed if a Lancero comes out with the HVC name, especially if a Lancero comes out with the Pen Caliente name. I don't think anybody's going to be upset by that. I think we'll be happy about that. So you mentioned the flavor profile, you know, that medium profile with sweetness and balance, and that really speaks a lot to, at least as far as I think, that speaks to classic Cuban flavor profiles. You know, the Cubans that so many people know and love so well. What is it about that Cuban flavor profile that is so important to you to capture in your blends? And what kind of, you know, you said you rely a lot on Jalapa. What is it about the region of Jalapa that gives the tobacco those characteristics that fall into those sort of classic flavor profiles that you like so much?
I mean, in the end of the day, remember, everything is in the soil. Sometimes people confuse fermentation. Fermentation don't give flavor to cigar. Fermentation is to burn, to prepare the tobacco. The flavor is coming already in the soil. So the soil and the Jalapa, if you see when you compare to Esteli, is completely different. In Esteli, you got dark, heavy. So when you go to Jalapa, even it's like only like almost 3 hours away. So you got more sandy, more loose in the soil. That's what gives you. Even it's like in Cuba and Pinar del Rio. The best tobacco that you can see in Cuba is coming from that region, San Juan and Martinez. And when you see the soil right there, it's completely different. So I say this like always, like if you take tobacco from city regions, completely different, and the fermentation process, you do the same thing. Guarantee you 100% the flavor profile on this is completely different. And why? Because the flavor is already in the soil. That's why you see Nicaragua have a special soil for cigars. Dominican Republic, that's the same thing. Cuba have a special soil. You know what I mean? Like how
Yeah.
sometimes I want to give more out there and I try to play, because sometimes people get like, no, it's just the soil.
Yeah. And have you, so because I've been to Esteli and I've seen farms in Esteli, and you're right, the soil is this deep black color. It's really dense, rich soil that holds its shape. And then when you go to Jalapa, you said it's looser, a little bit more sandy, and then you go to other areas of Nicaragua like Ometepe with, the volcano, and the I would assume, although I haven't been there, that soil, because one of the things I've noticed from Ometepe tobaccos is they tend to have a lot of earthiness. They taste like, they almost taste like rock or soil. So what, and I assume in the past, maybe you've tried out some different blends, and you say, oh, let's maybe try to throw a little tobacco from this region or that region in there, and you try it, and it just doesn't work for your palate, because like you said, you like to blend cigars for yourself, which I think is a great way to go. And if you have there been times that you've tried tried tobaccos from other regions, and as good as the tobacco is, you say this just doesn't work for what I want out of this cigar?
You're right, Matt. You're right. You're right. You try some things and you say, like, let me try to come out with something different. Like the same thing we talked before about the broadleaf. I say, well, maybe that's not for me. You know what I mean? Like I can say, well, I want to try a broadleaf. I want to come out with a broadleaf, but I don't find something really that satisfies my palate yet. So you gotta try it. You try different regions to see how we see it. I always compare when you blending. I like to cook, so it's like you are in the kitchen and you are trying different ingredients, right? And you try to put together something, and then they got flavor, they got balance, and you will really enjoy it.
Yeah.
So when I am down there trying the tobacco, it's like you are in the kitchen, smoking this, smoking that, to see what come out. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work. Even you have, that happened to us a lot of time. You got a lot of good tobacco and you put it together and the blend doesn't come out.
Yeah.
And maybe that's because that's not for me, but that tobacco can work in all the blends.
So with the broadleaf, how many different, because like you said, it's a VISO broadleaf. How many different types of broadleaf did you try before you landed on that particular priming, before you landed on that particular, color grading, because some of them are going to be a lot heavier. Some of them are going to be a lot earthier. Some of them will have a little more sweetness. How many different gradings of broadleaf did you go through before you landed and said, this is definitely the one for this cigar?
I remember we went to Naxa. So we get the broadleaf from Gustavo Cura. So, and I tried Seco, Ligero, and Viso. And different primings. And when I got to the Viso, I say, you know what? This is the one that want to like it. I really like the flavor. I really like to come out. I want to go with this one.
And
so we bring the broadleaf, because remember, the production and the broadleaf. Wait, let's remember we are super small company of cigar. We are not really a mass produced cigar company. So with the broadleaf, we may use 40,000 cigars when they came out for regular production cigar. So you know what I'm saying right there? Like, we are not really like say, hey, give me like 1,000 of bells just because I want them out. We're just talking about just a small production. For us, it's working quite well.
Well, and
we are not really a mass.
That's actually one of the benefits to being a smaller company, where you're going to make 1,000 boxes instead of 50,000 boxes, or you'll make 5,000 boxes instead of 50,000 boxes, because then I would imagine you go to select your tobaccos, and when you find what you like, you also look at, do they have enough to make? Do they have enough quality, of this priming, this color grading, this quality? Do they have enough for me to make 5,000 boxes of this cigar? Where another company who's massive can say, do they have enough of this cigar to make 200,000 boxes of this cigar? And a lot of times you don't have to compromise on quality, because you're making.
I think if you do and die, then you will put a lot of garbage out there. That's the way I think.
Yeah.
That's the way I would see, though, because it's like one of the most important things in this business, consistency. The same cigar that we're smoking today, you want to smoke it 10 years later from now, you want to make sure it's the same cigar. When you're doing something with a regular production line, though, that's something that you really have to manage.
So, we kind of started on this earlier, but we never really got all the way there. Take us through one by one each of the different blends you have on the market, and give just a little description for the viewers and the listeners on what they can expect to get out of that cigar when they find it on a shelf in their shop.
Let's think about let's start with the HVC Cerro. So in the Cerro, we have a Cerro Corojo 99, and we have a Cerro Maduro, San Andres Maduro. So in the Cerro line, you're looking just nice medium body cigar. Probably I would like to say Reinier 6, got sweetness, not heavy at all. Just for a beginner, they want to start smoking cigar, the Cerro is a perfect night. Now if you want something a little more up in flavor, just you can jump in the Cerro Maduro line. Same blend, but just different wrappers. So you can taste Corojo 99 and you can taste San Andres Maduro wrapper. And always remember, all the tobacco that we use is Estelí and Jalapa. Let's talk about the San Isidro line. And the San Isidro line was the first cigar that we came out with a vinyl wrapper. First time we did something back press. That's the only line that we use back press tobacco. Medium full. You're talking about spicy on it, just right out the gate. You got a lot of spices on it. Medium full, like I said before, great flavor. And just the cigar for now just coming in 3 sizes. Let's talk about the La Rosa 520. Probably La Rosa 520, that's the most Cuban style cigar that I have in my portfolio. We don't use ligero in that tobacco. All we use is Viso and Seco. So in 100% from the Jalapa region, you got creamy, you got really not leather, like, how can I say this word? Like, oh my God, I got it right here, right in my tongue.
I hate
Help me out here, Mike. No, that happened. I got the flavor right here. It's not. You got that one here, like floral.
Floral, yeah.
You got floral nose. So always, and the other thing, La Rosa for me is quite more a cigar to me. That was my address in Cuba. It's really personal to me, and that particular, that's why it's only been super regular production cigar for us. And then let's jump in the 2015. Probably one of the most medium full bodies I have in my portfolio with San Andres Maduro wrapper. You got a lot of sweetness, you got chocolate. So great medium full body cigar to enjoy after dinner. So you got the 2018, same blend that we have with the 2015, but you got with Corojo 99 wrapper. And just remember, Ganosa grow only Corojo and Criollo 98. So it's Corojo 99 and Criollo 98 wrapper. That's all they grow, and that's great for all blends.
Yeah.
So right now, we got that one. We talk about already the Pan Caliente one. And now this one that I really enjoy right now. The 500 anniversary.
And I gotta say, it's a brilliant cigar. I've been enjoying it so much right now.
I mean, since I came out with this blend, I said, wow, I really enjoy it. Actually, the other day I was at the Waterhouse of Another Salif here in Miami, and I was talking to Terrence, and he said, wow, you're really talking about a lot about these 500. I said, Terrence, I really like the blend. So when he got one, I said, let's try one. And he was smoking, saying, wow, I really like it. And I say, because it reminds me really a nice Cuban smoke. Like I say, not heavy, medium, clean in your mouth. So I love it.
And it's one of the things I like about it is, like you said, you get little hints of that sort of floral note, but there's also little hints of like something that reminds me a little bit of citrus, oranges or lemons a little bit. And it's I really like it a lot. And so
sometimes I see my palate is not really like, I see people like they got a lot of, I don't know the right word to say for that. Like you can see people, like you say, like you got citrus, you got this, you got that. Like I wish my palate can be a little more out there for that kind of flavors.
Well, and that's just me. And it may to 1 or 10 other guys, it may not be citrus. That same sort of characteristic to their palate may taste like something other than citrus. That's just the way.
You got a lot of people out there. You got a lot of people out there that really got the cocoa nose, the coffee nose.
Yeah. And I got to welcome to the show my partners here. Garrett made it all the way from his wife's birthday party. So Garrett, Reinier, Garrett.
Reinier.
How you doing, Garrett?
I'm doing well. And I was fortunate enough to listen to the whole show on the way up here. And if we could back up just a little bit and talk more about this Lancero situation.
Not yet. So maybe next year, you can be a little surprise out there. I hear you love Lanceros.
Oh man, Matt nailed it on the head. That Lanceros are my jam, and to see a Lancero with HVC on it would make my life happy. But I will tell you,
Lanceros they see Lanceros. They are for cigar smokers.
That's right. Yeah, the wrapper to filler and binder ratio is just the sweet spot for me. I know Matt is a Corona guy, but you know.
Yeah, I usually love 46 ring gauge. To me is perfect. That's my I could smoke 46 ring gauges all day. I mean, I love all sizes of cigars, and I'll even, although it's rare, I'll even smoke a 60 ring gauge from time to time. But 46, there's just something about that ring gauge to me that's perfect. But I love all of it.
And I want to kind of echo your citrus notes here, because right before you said that, I was like, man, this is like a almost a grapefruity citrus, not like a bright lemon or lime, but more of a subdued citrus. And I'm really digging it.
But the sweetness is the thing that there's such a pronounced sweetness from this cigar, especially on the retrohale. When you let a little bit of the smoke out through the nose, that sweetness, there's not a lot, because a lot of times you retrohale the cigar and there's so much pepper and there's so much spice
burn here in your nose. Yeah.
But this one really, there's a little bit of heat, but mostly it's just sweetness, and it just lands in a good spot. I love it.
Well, we're gonna give her a go.
I mean, for me, it's always like, when you smoke HVC, sweetness is really important to me in the blends. I always looking for sweetness in my blends and the cigars.
Yeah, and you can tell that. And honestly, even in the broadleaf, there's a sweetness there. And broadleaf is nice because broadleaf is one of those tobaccos that I love so much, because you can get so much from it. It's broadleaf. If it's a good quality broadleaf crop, it's going to have sweetness and earthiness in the same leaf. That's one of the reasons that I love it so much, and that really comes through, especially with the fact that you've talked about using a lot of jalapa in your blends. You get the sweetness from the filler, and also a little bit of that sort of darker sweetness from the broadleaf in that broadleaf cigar of yours, definitely.
The other thing that we're talking about sweetness right now, and I was thinking, like, it's funny, like, when you see the sweetness of the broadleaf, you got sweetness, but when you go to the Corojo one, and you got sweetness as well, and when you jump in Habano, you got sweetness as well, but just different kind of sweetness.
Yes, exactly.
You never realize that, like, you got sweetness, but when you really start to smell, that you feel in your mouth, you say, wow, I got sweetness, but it's quite different, quite the sweetness. Still, you really enjoy it.
Yeah. Oh, and I got to put this comment up on screen from one of our viewers. This is David Crawford. We call him Big Pickle. He's good.
Pickle.
He's a good friend of ours, and he's a big Chicago Bears fan. And he puts sweetness up on here because he's probably thinking of Walter Payton. But yeah, he's a huge Chicago Bears fan. I'm sorry about your team, Pickle. I'm sorry your team sucks this year, but the way the Green Bay Packers played on Sunday. The Green Bay Packers played like a bunch of 10-year-olds on Sunday. It was horrible.
Oh, my God. Yeah. I don't know what's going on. I think they partied too much the night before.
Yeah, that was.
They were probably partying with the Vikings.
Well, the Vikings actually put up a fight. The Vikings lost, but they were competitive, at least in the game. The Packers were just.
Not really.
Oh, my gosh, it was terrible.
Yeah.
It's the worst game I've seen them play in years. Straight up awful. So I'm curious about this. Before we go into our next section, I'm curious about your Cuban roots, and you said, we can talk a little bit about all the things going on with the FDA and people's right to smoke cigars maybe fading away and being in jeopardy and things like that. You talked about the reason, for coming to the United States was for freedom. And unfortunately, we're seeing maybe some of those freedoms in jeopardy. Looking back at Cuba and where you came from and where you spent most of your life, do you ever see yourself going back to Cuba full time, or do you consider the United States your home now?
I mean, right now I consider the United States my home.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you see Cuba how size right now, it's impossible to me consider. I mean, it's always with me. You know what I mean? Like, wherever I go, Cuba is with me because that's where I'm from.
Yeah.
But for your question, United States is my home right now.
Yeah.
Do you miss Cuban coffee?
Not really.
Yeah, you can get Cuban coffee in the States.
I know you can get it
here in Miami. You
but...
can get really good Cuba. I mean, the coffee that we got here is not even Cuba.
Yeah, I had Cuban coffee for
which one? Pilon?
Well, it's a good question. I don't know what brand it was. I had a roommate who he was Cuban. His mother always had Cuban coffee, and when I grew up, it was motor oil is what we drank for coffee. That's how my dad made it. So dark. And then I had my friend Jose's Cuban coffee, and dude,
the first time I tried Cuban coffee, it was like revolutionary.
It was
the first time I tried Cuban coffee.
Absolutely accurate.
The way we drink coffee, is really concentrated, really heavy. The way they do the blends,
right?
When you see the way the way the American coffee is, it's not really heavy at all.
American coffee is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, American coffee is just, and this is so for me, growing up with, in a little coffee to me was, in a little Lutheran church basement, where they put in this massive pot, they put like one little, you got these little old ladies putting one tiny little scoop of crappy like Folgers, into this massive pot of coffee, and it's sort of tan colored water. It was just,
and a lot of water.
Yeah. So, the first time I tried Cuban coffee, probably, I don't know, 15 years ago, it was a revelation. Because for the first time in my life, I actually tasted coffee beans.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's a lot like cigars in that, so for me, when we grew up, got whole beans that were already roasted, but we would grind them ourselves. In the old-fashioned grinder.
Oh, the hand crank
grinder.
Yeah.
And that, and we could taste the beans. My dad was a fan of both Colombian and Ethiopian beans. Mm-hmm. And but when I had Cuban coffee, it was the most perfect medium-bodied bean flavor that I still have had. So Ethiopian and Cuban are my two favorite coffee beans, but I rarely get a chance to do Cuban.
Next time, try Nicaragua. Nicaragua have a really good coffee too.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure I've had Nicaraguan, but I don't remember it. But yeah, I will. I'll do that.
We'll go to Nicaragua.
All right.
We'll taste the coffee in Nicaragua.
Yeah.
Next time you guys are here in Miami, we will go down here on some cafeterias here. We can get a nice little shot of strong Cuba.
Absolutely.
Love it.
So speaking of beverages, what are some of your favorite things to pair with a cigar? Whether it's good coffee or whether it's spirits or beer or even other beverages like tea and things like that. What do you like to drink with your cigars?
I mean, coffee, of course, because it's almost every day, coffee and cigar. But outside of that, wine, scotch, and rum. Right, that would be my three: wine, scotch, and rum. There, I would go with these three.
Is there a particular kind of wine that you enjoy more?
Oh, yeah. Lately, I really enjoy California wine a lot. I used to be a big Spain wine, but now I'm getting more in the California wines. And then scotch, I really like Macallums. That's my favorite.
Yeah, it's not too heavy.
It's a smooth, clean. Yeah. And with rum, I mean, it's a lot of good rums out there.
There really are.
You guys are a rum drinker, but there's really a lot of good rums out there.
There are so many good rums on the market. One of the ones that a friend of mine turned me on to recently that I always saw on the shelf, but I never bought any. And he brought some over, and it's plantation rum from Barbados, and the XO variety of the plantation rum is outstanding and not terribly expensive either. So I recommend that a lot. Very nice rum.
Try Zacapa. Zacapa is really nice too.
Oh yeah, Zacapa is very good.
Zacapa rum, yeah. There's a lot of good rums out there.
Florida Caña from Nicaragua is very good as well.
And yeah, for the price point, it's really hard to beat.
Yeah.
Now I'm getting the cocoa.
You get a little cocoa from the cigar.
I am.
Yeah.
Totally transitioned to cocoa.
Well, let's shift gears. Let's transition into our next. Speaking of transitions, nice segue. Let's. So Garrett, thinking that you were not going to be here, I actually. So normally we do our useless fact of the week, and then Garrett does Numero de los Muertos. And thinking that you weren't going to be here, I actually combined the two.
Okay.
Into one. But if you have one prepared,
I do.
We'll do that also. But this useless fact of the week is actually combined with a little bit of a very strange statistic. So how many people per year do you think in the United States are killed by sharks?
Wow.
In the U.S.?
Yeah, how many people on United States shores are killed by sharks every year?
Well, it's got to be mostly East Coast.
East Coast, probably more here in Florida, right?
Yeah, mostly in Florida, I'm thinking. I'm gonna go with 20.
Okay. What do you think, Reinier?
Wow. Probably like 12.
Okay.
That's a good guess.
And how many people do you think every year in the United States are killed by vending machines?
Oh my God, you got to be really drunk to be killed by a vending machine. Oh, wow.
No, it's funny because for as long as I've been doing this segment, that's a statistic that pops up quite a bit.
Okay.
I don't recall the number, but I'm gonna guess it's the same as sharks.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go with 20 again.
I mean, if you want me to give a number,
there's a lot 50. Of dumb people in the U.S.
50.
So every year in the United States, 16 people are attacked by sharks.
Oh,
attack!
But on average,
3.
Only one person is killed every 2 years by a shark.
It has to be really low. Yeah.
It's only 0.5 people every year are killed by sharks. And the number of people every year in the United States killed by vending machines,
8,
is 2.18.
Okay.
So
more people die.
Actually, yeah, you get more people die
Four times as many people die every year by vending machines as they do by sharks. So, and of course, how do they get killed by the vending machine?
Trying to shake out their thing.
They try to move the thing around and shake it, and it falls on top of them.
And then
by it. Telling you, there's a lot of stupid people out there, man.
Yeah, there is.
So even though that's a little bit of a sort of Numero de los Muertos light, let's go with our real segment this week of Numero de los Muertos.
All right, this number is it's a little sad, but it is 34 on average over the last 3 years.
Okay.
Prior to that, it was in the teens for many years.
So over the last few years, 34 every year?
34 on average.
But for a long time,
34?
It was only 13?
Yep, it was in the teens. Yeah.
So that many people are killed by whatever this is every year.
Correct.
Wow.
Is it just in the U.S. or is it worldwide?
It is in. That's a good question.
You don't know.
Well,
you're supposed to know.
I am supposed to know.
That's all right.
So that's a difficult question to answer because these people don't always die in U.S. territory.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Where?
So they get.
So that would be a big clue to this statistic.
They don't. So do they get sick from something here and die somewhere else?
No. Oh, that's interesting. No. That clue is just that's going to be a killer. So
I see what you killer. You're hilarious.
So every week, Reinier, I try to make my statistic close to something in the guest's world. So if Reinier was a clue to our statistic.
Yeah. So this is something, Reinier, this is something you should be familiar with, but yet you have no idea what it is. But that's okay because I don't have a clue either. We need another clue. I mean, something that's not gonna give it away.
They are trying to find that the grass is greener on the other side.
They are trying to find?
Yep. They're looking for a better life.
Okay.
Is this about people or some other kind of animal?
No, people.
People.
Yep, this is people.
But just here?
Is it?
On side of Earth.
Is this people who are trying to come here?
Mm-hmm.
So is it people who are on boats and rafts and things trying to make their way over from Cuba?
Correct.
Every year?
Every year.
34 people?
Yeah.
Every year?
Every year.
34?
34 people die. So
wow.
That's just the people that die. Last year, the Coast Guard counted just short of 4,000 Cubans trying to come from Cuba to Florida.
That's that.
Man, that's
probably how many. You don't have the number how many they get caught.
So, well, those are all the people that got caught. Now, the death statistics are a combination between both Cuba, the Coast Guard, and and then another agency.
So it could also be Coast Guard who, in attempt of rescue,
correct,
gets killed.
Okay.
Maybe yes, no.
That's a good. I didn't see that.
Okay.
Part of it, but a lot of times the biggest thing is they'll have some kind of a raft or even shipping containers that they'll try and drift, and people will run out of food, and the raft will take them further out into the ocean instead of
north. Oh man, that's
so.
That's not, I mean, that's actually a lot of people. I remember like back in the days, like used to see a lot of people in the 90s when the Cuba government opened. When the 90s, when the Cuba, but I think first was in the 80s when El Mariel, and then in the 90s when Cuban government opened the borders and allowed people to come out. It was sad when you see the way they tried to come here to the United States. It is sad. It was really sad to see all these people just living with, a lot of kids with nothing. And actually not in the right conditions, because you're talking about boats they made themselves. Wow. Actually, it's a movie about that. It's really interesting movie, but at the same time, it's really sad. I see it's called Balseros.
What does that mean?
Balseros is the guy that usually we call here the Balseros, the guy that leave Cuba, they came here in boats.
Okay.
Man.
Yeah. I didn't know that it was, so there's been an uptick.
It sounds like the numbers have gotten a lot higher in the last few years.
And so my question to you, Reinier, is in the last 3 years, is there anything obvious within Cuba that's happening where you would now have almost double the number of people that are trying to come to the U.S. from Cuba?
I mean, you guys know right now the policy change. I don't know if you guys know about that. Before it used to be wet feet and dry feet. I don't know if you guys familiar with that.
No, if you wouldn't mind sharing.
Okay. Before it was like if you are a Cuban citizen, you can come to the United States and they give you just all the rights and the green card just the day you came here. After a year, you came here.
So right? they would grant asylum right away.
Exactly. Yes. Just came here illegal and you got all the benefits. So right now it's not like that.
Okay.
So right now that changed, and I think you need just the way I came here, right? So you need your family to be American citizens, and they can give you a call, and you can come here to the United States just legal.
Okay.
Oh,
but the problem with Cuba is it's been really tough for people to live there.
Bummer.
Yeah, I suppose it's not cheap. It's not cheap to, get money to travel. Travel's not inexpensive. Travel's very expensive, especially along, I mean, it's less than 100 miles, but for a family that their yearly income is $15, it's not necessarily easy for them to, gather together enough money to make it all the way to the United States, especially if you've got a large family with kids.
Yep.
It's not easy.
No, there is no way you can come with that.
Yeah. So that is this week's Numero de los Muertos. So a little bit, Reinier, a little bit of a lightning round of questions, quick answers, quick questions about sort of things going on in the cigar industry these days, and really all the time. If you could give just one piece of friendly advice to a new cigar consumer, what would you say to them?
Just to a consumer, just be open to your palate. And if you really are interested to learn about cigars, just go out there, smoke, ask questions. Just be really involved if you really like it. That's the best advice I can give.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and the same question, if you could give one piece of friendly advice to cigar retailers, specifically shops, brick and mortar cigar shops, to the owners and the managers of those shops, what piece of friendly advice would you give to them?
Customer service.
Say that again.
Customer service.
Oh yes, absolutely. Customer service. Yeah, is so. Let me expand on that a little bit. Is that because I've seen myself, and not just in cigars, but in a lot of other service oriented shops, whether it's cigar shops or places where that used to be known for friendly one-on-one sort of hometown customer service. I've seen it disappear. I've seen it get worse in the last few years. Have you seen that in cigar shops? And what do you think needs to be done to make that better?
I don't know about that.
Okay.
Not really. I mean, when I say that question, the customer service, yes, because like you say, it's not only in cigar business. Just think about outside the cigar business. Like every time you go to whatever place, it's customer service. It's a really key in whatever business.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel sometimes I don't thinking right now like an owner of the company. I'm thinking about a consumer way. You like to go a place where you want to be nice and treat people well, and you feel like you're home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you want to be, when you're a customer and you walk into a cigar shop for the first time. Maybe you're out of town, you're traveling for work, or maybe it's maybe you're new to cigar smoking and you go to a shop in your hometown that you've never been to before. It's so important for the manager or the owner or whoever's working at that shop to spend some time talking to and getting to know that customer. And I hope that a lot of these shops really take that to heart and spend, it takes 5 minutes to build a relationship with a customer. Mm-hmm. And it takes 30 seconds to destroy it. If a customer walks in your shop and you just sit there and keep watching your TV and, don't even so much as say hello to the customer, that's all the time it takes, 20, 30 seconds to lose a customer forever. But if you just spend 2 minutes or 5 minutes saying hello to a customer and talking to them, then you probably gained a customer for life.
Well, and that's what I liked too. Last week, Reinier, we were live from one of our local brick and mortar shops, and it was a real, breath of fresh air to listen to both, the father son talk about their experience of the retail business, but Luke, the son, admittedly said, "I'm not a tobacconist. There's some parts of this business and the tobacco business that I don't yet know and understand, but yet he's passionate about cigars, loves cigars, and he's honest with, who he is. He's not trying to BS anybody or, sell. He's just trying to share his passion."
Yeah.
And likewise, the dad being honest about, at first I just got cigars I liked. And, eventually I had to listen to my customers and what they wanted.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff I want to see more in cigar retail. That was really cool.
Yeah. So Reinier, also, there's a lot of things going on with, like we've talked about a little bit, there's a lot of things going on with the FDA. There's a lot of things going on with the big cigar trade show organization, the PCA, now that they're called the PCA. If you could give one friendly piece of advice to the people who are running the PCA, what do you think you'd talk to them about?
They really got to figure out how to bring more retailers out to the show and the cigar. Something I really start realizing every year in the cigar show is less people in the cigar show. So my piece of advice, really, I don't want for it, but they really have to figure out how to bring more retailers out to the show. That's one thing.
Yeah, that's absolutely it, because they're the lifeblood of the industry. The retailers who run the brick and mortar shops, they really are. They're what keeps it all going. And if they're not at the show building those relationships, then we just don't want to see it go in that direction. We want to see the place. We want to see the place filled with retailers. Just no more empty hallways. We want to see people all over the place. That's what we want. So notable smokables for the week. I will jump right in and say that I smoked a cigar for the first time in a while, first time in a year, maybe two, that I've smoked this cigar. It's one that I always enjoyed, the Plasencia Alma del Campo.
Oh,
beautiful,
yes.
Beautiful, tasty cigar. One that I enjoyed very much. Garrett, what's something you smoked this last week that you love?
You know, it's interesting. I smoked a Julius Caesar, and I hadn't had a Julius Caesar in many years because for a long time, I was just under the opinion that, and I've had many over the years, but I felt like it was just a bit pricier than it needed to be for the cigar that I remembered having.
Yeah.
Dude, this particular one was a trade, so it was like 2 years old, and it blew me away. It was the first Julius Caesar where I was like, okay.
Nice.
Now I get it.
So they age well.
They age great.
Okay. Good. That's good to hear. I haven't smoked a Julius Caesar in quite a while. So
yeah.
Maybe that's something I can revisit.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Reinier, do you smoke a lot of stuff outside of your own brand? And if you do, was there anything interesting that you liked recently?
I mean, most of the time I smoke my own stuff. Actually, last week, like you guys were talking about, I was smoking a Partagas, the Chores, the 50-count cabinets.
Yeah.
And I remember having smoked those in a while, and I smoked one. I have probably here 20 left in the box. There was a gift by a friend, and I was really enjoying those.
Nice. Yeah, those are ones I have to revisit too.
The Partagas?
Yeah, I'm stubborn. I have boxes I'm unwilling to open, but I'm really
so
stubborn.
Risky.
Yeah, I know. And I just had really just one more that was notable this week, was the EP Carrillo. I wrote it down. The Capa del Sol from EP Carrillo. Very good cigar. I had forgotten all about it. So
I'm drawing a blank on that one.
Have you not smoked that one?
I'm not sure that I have.
Okay. He has a lot of blends out there, so
Yeah.
it's possible you haven't tried that one, but
Yeah.
it's one I enjoy a lot.
Awesome. Well, and it's interesting you brought up Partagas because last week our friend Andrew brought up Partagas Serie D, and I was with a buddy who had a handful of the Partagas Serie Ds, and
Yeah.
it's just a great cigar.
It is good. It is good. If you get one that's got a good draw on it, then it's
Yep.
definitely
That's a tough part.
yeah, exactly. It's it's like every other, well, more than every other, unfortunately, but
Yeah. I did poke it.
did you?
I did.
Yeah, sometimes you have to. But
Yeah.
but when those cigars have a good draw, they really are very good.
Lights out.
Very good. So couple programming notes just for some stuff that we have coming up in the coming weeks. Next week on November 12th, Sean Williams from Cohiba Cigars will be on the show. And the following week, November 19th, Ben Holt from Dissident Cigars will be on the show. And then 11/26, Mr. Hector Alfonso Sr. from Espinosa Cigars will be on the show. And then we're into December. Can you believe it? We're into December. December 3rd, Miguel Shodell from Crown Heads will be live on the show talking to him, and excited for that. Reinier, if you would please give everybody a final sort of reminder where they can find out more about HVC Cigars and where they can follow you on social media.
Just Facebook, Instagram, just on the website, and just I think right now it's really big in Instagram and Facebook. We are really out there. So I connect every day with a lot of people through Facebook, Instagram. It's coming huge. So we gotta keep fighting, guys. So right now it's tough what we have going on.
Yeah.
With the FDA, with the government. So I think we gotta keep fighting.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Yep.
And for us, one of the biggest things is getting out there and educating the consumers. That's really important for us, is getting out there and educating the consumers, and that's really why we do this. We want people to learn more about the people that make these brands run, and the heart and the passion and the soul that goes into these great cigars, and the stories behind them, and the relationships that can be built around them. And it's one of the most important things to us. So get out there and spend time in your local shops, guys. For those of you watching and listening, get out there to your shops, spend time, spend some of your money, and you will be amazed at the returns you get. You're going to build new relationships. You're going to find cigars that are fantastic. Mm-hmm. There are so many great cigars on the market, and HVC is one of those brands that you will be absolutely blown away by. Here, if you're here in the Twin Cities area of Minneapolis, St. Paul, I know for a fact you can find the cigars at Tobacco Grove, which is a wonderful shop over on the west side. They have a very good selection of HVC products, along with a lot of other great brands as well. So visit them. Continue to spend time at your brick and mortar shops, and just learn as much as you can about the products and about the people and about the process that goes into all of it. If you guys have any questions, as always, hit us up on our website. You can send us an email directly from there, howaboutthatcigar.com. Thank you for watching live on Facebook, and those of you watching after the fact on Facebook as well, or on YouTube. Thank you so much for spending time with us. Mm-hmm. If you have been listening on the audio podcast platform, thanks while you're working out or driving down the road for listening and enjoying this broadcast with us. And until we see you guys next time, burn cigars,
not bridges.
Take care, guys. Thanks, you.
Guys.
Thank you guys for having me on the show.